So a friend of mine just informed me about this tweet from Harada and also these patch notes, which we're going to go over in a minute. I've read half the tweet, but not all of it, and I haven't read the patch notes yet. This is a surprise because usually Harada and Murray facing backlash won't respond directly, as in particular this soon in, I suppose, I was going to call it a controversy, but it's not really a controversy, it's just kind of backlash from the Tekken community. I wanted to do this as I saw it because in my last video, usually I don't really do negative focus videos. In fact, I don't think I've ever done a negative focus video, but last video was kind of a gut reaction to what I saw on the Tekken Talk Live for the last Season 2 showcase that they were revealing on the Tekken Talk. And I had a kind of a gut reaction, and I thought it would be a good idea to go through this with you guys and give you my thoughts, and hopefully there is some stuff in here that puts more faith back in my mind about the future of Tekken and where it's headed and the direction of the game design, which I'm really worried about right now, but hopefully those worries will be alleviated in what I read right now. So I'm not going to waste any more time. Just pray with me, guys, that we get some stuff that we really want. Okay, let's get on with it. So Harada replies to Shadowbox Kicker. He says, "Bro, Harada, stop listening to pro player and content creators' complaints about a game. Pick certain people in the community yourself that you want to listen to, that can logically point out things that should be changed in the game. I nominate main man Sui. He usually has a pretty balanced take on the state of the game, so I agree with that. That's a pretty good take." So Harada replies, "In any case, regarding the recent increase in discussion among players, I have personally initiated an urgent discussion and asked the team to deliberate on how to respond. This is pretty promising. Regardless of the player's title, I take this as an opinion from the Tekken fan community. Of course, I will analyze which group, from beginners to advanced players, is expressing that opinion. I will also consider whether the opinion comes from the majority or a minority. That is important, obviously. Tekken is a business, like they want to make money. That does make sense. It's not necessarily true that the opinion of advanced players is always the best for the game. For example, if that were the case, Tag 2 should have sold better than and been more successful. This is, I think this is a good take, but there should be a balance from the dev team. Obviously, you can't take literally everything every fan says about the game into consideration when you're trying to balance the game out, right? Because high-level players will have a better understanding, not to slight lower-level players or beginners, right? But usually this is the case, that high-level players have a better understanding of the game and the way the game mechanics work. And in this discussion, focused on defense, it makes sense because defense in Tekken is actually really hard to learn, and it takes a lot of time to gain those skills and a lot of labbing in order to be able to fuzzy duck things on reaction, block things on reaction that are really fast. Option select sidesteps and this sort of thing with defense is quite a complicated thing, so that makes sense to take it from pro's perspective. And on the other hand, if it's too difficult, then beginners will have too much of a hard time getting into the game, and it won't be very fun for them, and they might give up after 2 weeks, right? That's a brief overview of my thoughts on this, basically. Right, so he said, for example, if that were the case, Tag 2 should have sold better and be more successful. On the other hand, just because an opinion is from a minority doesn't mean it should be ignored. This is also true. Well, these are just general statements. Okay, so after this, they released this, which is Battle System Adjustment Policy. About Battle System Adjustment Policy for Volume 2. So, I haven't read any of this, so this is a very raw reaction. So, let's see. I'm pretty pessimistic, but I'm willing to have my mind changed. I hope my mind is changed because I love Tekken. Right, so in Season 1, offensive options utilizing the heat system had become somewhat formulaic, making it difficult for players to express their individual playstyles. This is true. Additionally, the advantages for the attacking player during heat state were often too great, leading to one-sided match development, an issue we've acknowledged. Obviously, this is just do some mix-ups, get a bit of damage, go into heat, do your heat mix-ups, and heavy 50-50, 50-50, 50-50, 50s a lot of the time, not allowing for much like defense in terms of like what I stated before, like fuzzy ducking, sidestep, option select, this sort of thing. And I think the biggest worry people had was actually when they showcased King on that Tekken talk, and King had like a +9 on block charge string, and Jaguar sprint 50-50, like forced 50-50 mix-ups, where the only option you have is to stand block or low block, right? You can't sidestep, you can't option select, you can't interrupt, or if you are forced to interrupt, it creates this very, very, very chaotic gameplay, basically, where you have to weigh the options whether you want to go into a forced 50-50 or risk interrupting them, and then risk it's like a 50-50 in itself whether you're going to get launched or not, or take a massive amount of damage. So anyway, enough of me blabbering, I'll read on. Additionally, the advantages for attacking player during heat state were often too great, leading to one-sided match developments. Right, an issue we've acknowledged. Good. With that in mind, Season 2 introduces a wide range of updates to the battle system and significant adjustments and new moves for each character, based on the following 3 guiding principles. Right, Season 2 adjustment policy. Expanding strategic options with the heat system. I have a feeling this is going to be what we've seen before. Activating heat provides a major advantage, creating opportunities to pressure opponents with mid-low mix-ups. However, characters lacking strong standing low attacks have been unable to fully capitalize on this advantage. To address this, we've made it possible to transition into a crouching state after a successful heat engager by inputting down back, down, or down forward, giving players more options to apply pressure. This is the full crouch after a heat engager, which is obviously, with the introduction of Anna, they're more incentivized to put this in because her mix-ups from full crouch are disgusting. So they've done it not just for her, but for everybody. A lot of people were worried about this, including me, because a heat engager, if you land a heat engager, you're a +17 anyway, approaching the opponent. So adding a full crouch mix-ups in there as well is just another layer of chaotic gameplay that I think that everyone could just do with a little bit less of that chaotic gameplay right now. Just ease off the throttle and just chill a little bit more. Right. Additionally, certain characters can now perform a heat dash or heat burst from unique stances. We've already seen this, enhancing combo variety and mind games during neutral. For characters who previously had limited tactical options during heat, we've introduced new heat exclusive moves to make the heat state more appealing and dynamic. Okay. Rebalancing offense and defense within the heat system. This is very, very important. To address overly one-sided match dynamics, we've reduced chip damage across the board during heat state, where its impact was most pronounced. Okay. It's just funny reading this after we saw the Anna debuff thing in the Tekken Talk Live, and the chip damage after breaking a throw, so forgive me if I find this kind of comical. Hopefully I'll eat my own words here. Additionally, in endgame scenarios, it had become common to secure KOs by landing chip damage via heat dash followed by a quick finishing move, limiting creative decision making. This happens nearly every single round. This is very, very true. To improve this, we've lowered additional chip damage when the heat dash is blocked. We've also made adjustments to how recoverable health works. Now, even damage taken while grounded will leave recoverable gauge. This is good. But they've already said this. This not only softens the offensive pressure of heat, but also makes its defensive merits more tangible, giving defending players more opportunities to recover and fight back. This is true, but that's true. It's true. Okay, I'll hold my thoughts there. Moreover, heat dash has long had numerous benefits, particularly when used from heat engages with power crush properties. However, this created a gap in power between characters and often led to unbalanced mind games. Yes, there was too much to think about with the power crush heat engager, but we know that's been axed, or at least for most characters. But yeah, it was way too unbalanced for characters that had that. To address this, we've removed the power crush property from most heat engagers or replaced them with other moves, except in a few cases where it's a part of a character's identity. Exceptions include characters like Jack 8, Kuma, Panda, and Leo, whose unique stances retain Power Crush properties on their heat engages. This makes sense. Kind of. I don't know about Jack 8 and Leo, but I have played Kuma and Panda. The Power Crush is very good. If they reduce the chip damage on the electrics, and change some things around, it would make sense for them to still retain that Power Crush heat engager. I think that's fair. I don't know about Jack 8 and Leo. I don't know anything about those characters, I gotta be honest. And especially Panda, without that Power Crush, that would hurt Panda a lot because she doesn't have bare electrics. But she still has a back forward too, which is obviously amazing. So we'll see what happens. Improvements in controls to bolster defensive techniques and provide more enjoyable play. Historically in Tekken, it was not possible to sidestep towards the foreground while in crouching state. This creates situations where, for example, a string that could be avoided from 1P side became unavoidable from 2P side, leading to imbalances in mind games unrelated to player skill or knowledge. Yes, especially since when you play online, you don't know which side people are on, right? They might be on the right side for you, but they're on the left side for them. They might be on player 2 side for you, but they might be on P1 side for them, right? So a good example of this is Kazuya's forward 4, right? It forces crouch. If you're on P1 side, you can sidestep left because that's away from the screen. If you're on P2 side, you can't sidestep left because you'd just be crouching still. So this is a good example of this. In Season 2, the issue has been resolved. Players can now sidestep towards the screen even while crouching, ensuring that movement options are consistent regardless of side. This is great. Additional quality of life improvements include input buffering at the start of rounds. We know this, allowing players to execute a move the instant the round begins. This is really good. I'm really glad that they have this because at the moment it's kind of crazy. You can do a jab and get beaten by a 20 frame move sometimes. Input buffering for sidesteps. Well, not 20 frame, a hop kick, I say. Input buffering for sidesteps, even during recovery or stun states, so players can buffer movement and execute it seamlessly once able to act. I was on the fence about this. As long as it doesn't impact how sidesteps feel, I'm happy with this. This is good. And hopefully it must make more sense considering the Tekken talk we just had. Although there are tons of 50-50s, which hopefully they address here, which is a bigger issue than buffering sidesteps. These changes aim to improve the overall responsiveness and fluidity of control, helping players of all levels enjoy the game more comfortably. Okay. Regarding future adjustments, additionally, in order to address issues pertaining to the large frame advantage on heat activation and the excessive strength of heat dash, the development team is currently in the final stages of making adjustment geared towards re-evaluating aspects that impact the strength of offense. Okay. And also a focus on improvements in defense. These adjustments are scheduled to be completed by the opening of TWT 2025 on May 9th. So about a month away. A month and 2 weeks. A month and a week. Okay, this is very promising because I think the biggest problem in the game right now is, it's the 50-50s, and it's this 50-50 in particular. This very forced 50-50 where you do a heat engager, you're at plus 17, and you can literally do anything. And so it's complete force to 50-50. Your opponent can't interrupt, they can't sidestep, they have to guess, mid or low. Right, so this is I'm very happy about this. This has given me butterflies, because this is like one of the biggest problems, in my opinion, with the game right now. Changes to throw mechanics. In Season 2, to address the difficulty of countering throws, the following adjustments have been implemented. Loosening the input window for throw breaks using 1+2. Oh, this change aims to reduce instances where the players fail to break throws despite successfully predicting them, particularly due to the difficulty in executing simultaneous button presses. I knew that was coming. Yeah, it makes sense. If you don't have a bind, like I do on pad, for 1+2, if you're pressing 1 and 2 at the same time, a lot of the time it will take the 1 or the 2. You know, if you press it like a frame before, it will take the 1 or the 2, right? So it's good they did this because it was too hard for people to like break if you actually just pressing the buttons rather than have like a bind for them. So this is a good change. Increased recovery for whiffed normal throws. Also, actually, going back to this, if you were like spamming a move, which is like not clean inputs, obviously, I mean, you can argue the case you shouldn't be spamming a move anyway. If you're spamming like 1 or 2, and then suddenly you get counter hit thrown, it'll take the 1 option like immediately, even if you just get thrown, right? It'll take the 1 option or the 2 option immediately, right? So you'll be too late to use 1+2 break. So this is probably also a reason for having this whole thing implemented. Loosening the input window. Increased recovery for whiffed normal throws. Adjustment intent. Increased recovery for whiffed normal throws. Interesting. Adjustment intent. By increasing the recovery on whiff by 6 frames, that is actually quite a lot. Players will have an easier time punishing opponents who miss their throws, especially when using crouches or backdashes to evade. I'm happy for this. However, considering that throws are often ineffective against opponents who can react and break them upon seeing the animation, additional benefits are being provided to the player attempting the throw. When a throw break is successfully performed, the thrower will recover 1 point of recoverable health. Ooh, okay. I mean, it's only 1 point, but it's recoverable health. When a throw break is successfully performed, the player that was grabbed will receive 5 points of recoverable health. Oh my god. Okay. Aren't they gonna change this? Oh, I was so sure they would change this. The chip damage for breaking a throw is kind of ridiculous. Revised adjustment after community feedback. Oh, okay. After the initial announcement, the development team received feedback from players and reconsidered one of the proposed adjustments. Oh, it was concluded that imposing a disadvantage on the defender for executing a successful throw break would be excessive, as throw breaking is a high skill mechanic that reflects a player's practice and proficiency. As such, the following spec will be scrapped in an upcoming patch. Yes, when a throw break is successfully performed, the player that was grabbed will receive 5 points of recoverable damage. Thank fuck! Because that is ridiculous for a high skill mechanic. Okay. Okay, so they are changing it. They're reverting it. Note, while these changes will be applied as soon as possible, there might be a slight delay following the release of Volume 2.0. Oh my god, my voice is going. The adjustments are scheduled to be completed before the opening of TWT 2025 on May 9th. Okay. So, my thoughts. So this heat activation, that it looks like they're gonna be doing what I wanted and what a lot of people, like most people, wanted this. Where if you land the heat engager, instead of it making it plus 17, make it like plus 5 or something. Make it plus 4, plus 5, maybe even plus 6 or plus 7. Just not plus 17. I think it was such overkill. Like, you've already got the advantage. You landed the hit, and now you're plus 17. Especially from things like punishes, where it's like, it wasn't necessarily that you wanted the heat engager, you just wanted that punish, right? So, yeah, it makes sense to change this to like plus 5. And they said that excessive strength of the heat dash as well. So maybe they'll change. Like Kazuya, for example, he has down back 1-2, which goes from -19 to plus 5. So this is the other thing. I actually mentioned this in a previous video. My idea, which PDX had a better idea than me, admittedly, but my idea was to make, like, for example, that move that's launch punishable, make them safe, but not plus. So make them like -9, for example, for like a really punishable move, right? Or moves that were punishable, make them safe but not plus. And for moves that were already safe, you can keep them at plus 5. That was my idea. But FDX's idea might be more complicated for both players in terms of memorizing frames, but it makes more sense in terms of balance, I think. That, for example, that move, Kazuya, he has a -19 move, which becomes plus 5 with a heat dash. Just add 5 frames to the move. So instead of it being -19, it's now -14. For Alice's, I think it's 4-2-1, the chainsaw thing. That's a heat engager and a heat dash launcher. Instead of making it -12, make it -7, right? So just add 5 frames. Demon paws that are -9, make it -4, like that sort of thing. It makes some more sense in terms of balance. I think it would be pretty tough on the player base in terms of knowledge memorization, right? But it makes more sense in terms of balance, in my opinion. So I'm happy for that. I'm happy that they're looking at heat, like especially It says heat activation, excessive strength of the heat dash. I'm hoping they include the heat engages, because that is the biggest issue with heat, in my opinion. You can talk about heat bursts and like tracking and stuff. That is a huge problem. Don't get me wrong. Brian having like infinite range and infinite tracking, and Jin having a ton of range and a ton of tracking, compared to let's say, I always single out Kazuya, but there are lots of other characters that have this issue where it has like, oh my god, voice crack. It has like 0 tracking and it has like 0 range. Well, not 0 range, but much less than other characters. So heat activation, I'm assuming that's what they're talking about there. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. And then this reverting the chip damage for breaking a throw, I think is very smart decision by them, considering the amount of backlash that one thing caused. Because you can talk about the king buffs, you can talk about multiple heat smashes per round from one character. Those were all kind of crazy and make the game very chaotic. But this one just literally made 0 sense to most people, because you're breaking a throw, like you're doing a high skill thing. Like if you react to a throw break to the animation to see whether it's a 1-2 or 1+2 break, you should absolutely 100% not be penalized for breaking that throw. Like you should be at an advantage, really. You should be, you know, +3 or something, which a lot of the time you are. And that makes sense, right? Because you broke the throw. Especially against characters like grappler characters or characters with chain throws, like King or like Nina, that they gain such an advantage if they land the throw, right? So, like think about Giant Swing, the amount of damage it does when your back is against, when his back is against the wall, right? And he throws you up against the wall, and it's a million damage. There's no way you should take chip damage for breaking that. A 10-frame throw startup does that much damage, and especially since they're making him homing now, his Shining Wizard and Giant Swing. So I'm happy they're not so stubborn that they'll like go back on this, considering the community feedback. Because I'm not gonna lie, I am very worried for Tekken. I am really hoping that they revise a lot of these changes that they showcased. And this is a great step forward, I gotta be honest. It's a great step forward. Looking forward to more changes from the feedback we gave. That might be wishful thinking, but you know what? I'm not ready to give up on this game. I'm really hoping that they listen to us, and that the patch notes we receive on the 1st of April really shine the light on the changes they decided to show at the Tekken Talk, even though, you know, most of the people that watch those Tekken Talks are players like, you know, you guys and me, where we play the game a lot, right? And us guys, we really want defense. We really want buffs to defense, and they showed us, you know, the opposite. I get why they did that, because it's more visually like appealing to like casual players and beginner players. They see all this cool like flying around stuff, but like casual players, it's more entertaining to watch like cool shit happening on the screen, rather than like, you know, gameplay that, you know, we subscribe to, where we want like focus on defense and stuff like that. So I get why they did that. They probably should have, you know, showed it a bit better, kind of outlined their philosophy a little bit better. Yeah, I'm really anxious to get my hands on those patch notes, and I'm sure all of you are too. So yeah, I'm really hoping and coping these patch notes to illuminate their thinking and their game philosophy. So enough rambling from me. I've taken enough of your guys' time up. I will see you in the next video. Stay hopeful. Stay copeful. If you like the video, please do me a favor and leave a like. It really helps me out more than you may know. And if you're new here and you want to find your way back, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button down below if you want to see more. That's going to be it from me. Much love, guys. Take it easy, and I will see you in the next one.